Hmm? Of course you do. You're the inquisitive type. What's on your mind? Curious about me, are you? I suppose I could share a bit of myself with you. What did you want to know? I was born in the capital of the Somerset Isles, Alinor. No doubt you've heard about the homeland of the Altmer. Buildings made of glass, towers that challenge the sky above, designs that capture the colors and warmth of the sun. The home of the Altmeri people, the heart of the Dominion. My home. It was a bit of a shock to me when I first stepped onto Nord soil. Whereas Alinor is warm and lush, this land is cold. Truth be told, I'm still trying to grasp this concept of snow. I've been stationed in Skyrim for about 3 years now. It is a difficult question. Somerset was beautiful, but the sun's rays were not enough to warm the cold and calloused souls of the people who basked in it. Everywhere you turn, there is an air of indifference to the beauty that surrounds the Altmer, who don't seem to recognize their own privilege to hold dominion over such a fertile paradise. This was no truer than in my own family. Despite my best efforts to please him, I often disappointed my father. On more than one occasion, he told me he would have preferred a daughter over the man I became, what with my apparent lack of strength or work ethic. After a while, I even began to resent my own body. Every day. And yet, I still miss the scenery. The lush landscapes, the sun and the ocean never got old for me. In stark contrast, the bleak atmosphere here is a far cry from my homeland. But with it comes a sense of kinship. It's strange. This is truly a brutal and savage land. But in traces, I find more comfort and connection amongst the people here than I ever did in Somerset. Still, it is unfortunate that I can't return home for some of my belongings or my cats. But at least I have Burwell. And you? After escaping a home filled with gaudy treasures but no love to speak of, I'm quite content with the simplicity of life on the road. Even if the snow means I do have to snuggle close to someone I would otherwise never have thought to. But now you have me curious. What about you? Where are you from? I'm curious how you ended up here in Skyrim. But I'm sure that's a story for another time, yes? I won't push you to open up to me. But maybe someday, when you're more comfortable, we can revisit this conversation. Well, this has been fun, making myself emotionally vulnerable and now homesick. We should focus on something else for a while, wouldn't you agree? Shall I pour us a cup of high tea, then? That's a good question. For now, I need to keep a low profile. But eventually I'll have to move on. Since I can't necessarily return home, I could always travel. I've been wanting to visit Raven Rock, or even see those churning sands of elsewhere. The possibilities are endless, really. I wouldn't turn the offer down. Certainly wouldn't be as lonely with a friend at my side, or at least something pretty to look at. But I'm sure you have business to attend to here in Skyrim first. Let's focus on the present before we head towards the future, hmm? Of course you do. You're the inquisitive type. What's on your mind? Again? You know how to make a mer blush. Family? What family? What are you talking about? I spawned from oblivion just like any member of the Thalmor. Oh yes, that. He was Mehrunes Dagon. Yes, I'm the spawn of Mehrunes Dagon. All right, all right. I am my parents' firstborn son. They were both very talented Mer in their own right, and as their firstborn, they had high expectations for me. After I said my first word, that very same day, my mother hired my first tutor. Eloquence and diction were very important to her, you see. I think she wanted me to become a bard, or a troubadour. Of course, I was later blessed, if you want to call it that, by two younger sisters down the line. And our parents shifted their expectations onto them instead. A blessing in disguise, really. But then my father pulled the ruse with Burwell and, well, you know the rest. Thankfully, neither of my sisters got involved with the Thalmor. I suppose we were close, when they weren't trying to make my life a complete nightmare. I wasn't as patient back then as I am now, and they enjoyed finding ways to get me to snap. Hiding notes on enchantments, putting soul gem shards in my boots, setting my hair on fire. They might have been thorns in my side, but they were my thorns. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Any siblings of your own? Mm-hmm. And let me guess, that was your way of saying I love you to them. Drove me crazy when they'd do that. Just wanted to read in peace. But it did make me worried for them when they didn't pull a stunt like that on the regular. They must miss you. Much like how I miss mine. Burwell the Avenger. My trusty ceremonial dagger. We have quite the history, you see. Hard to believe it, but when I was a child, I was nothing at all like the strapping young soldier you see before you. No, on the contrary. I was an awkward schoolboy who daydreamt and read books. I had quite the sweet tooth, and I never exercised much. Never really had any friends either. My father insisted that I enlist with the Thalmor, and of course I wanted nothing to do with it. Oh, I'm sorry. Who's telling the story? You or me? Anyway, one day he brought me into his study to help him open a dresser that was giving him a bit of trouble. After I opened it on the first try, I laughed at him. He then sat me down, to scold me and beat me, I thought, as was his custom. But then, as his mouth opened, out flowed the most beautiful, elaborate story my young mind had ever heard. I was the chosen one, destined to slay a great enemy of the people. A great dragon threatened the safety and the purity of our good land. He showed me this dagger, Burwell the Avenger, he called it, and bade me to take it, that I would use it to slay the great beast once and for all. But to train with it, I would need to enlist in the ranks of the Thalmor, who would show me how to properly wield it. No, actually. As it turns out, the great dragon was the evil of Talos worship, and my father was just a bigot. Hooray for metaphors. It was all a lie. An elaborate ruse to get his lazy sod of a son out of the house and earning his living. The dagger was worthless. Don't be. I'm not. It helped me develop the courage I needed to get out on my own. I suppose you could call that a big win for parenting, eh? Take note, if you ever have children of your own, with just the right balance of carrots, sticks, and fantasies, you can make a soldier out of a sap. Anyway, the joke's on him, really. I've since learned the art of blacksmithing and enchanting, so now Burwell the Avenger is a weapon worthy of his impressive title. And the rest, as they say, is history. As am I, friend. But enough standing idly by. The hour grows late. Shall we away?